Transfer case service, day 2. I've got this Mercedes up in the air right now. So, on the first day, I removed the cross member underneath and supported the back of the transmission, and also removed the insulator, which is the rubber mount underneath the transfer case. And also there is this, see this heat shield here, that's just for access to the drain and fill plugs, and it's held in by just these 2 cap screws. So now the issue is, in order to get to the upper filler plug, you have to remove the front of the drive shaft, the rear drive shaft at the front, where it joins with the flex bushing. Right now, as you can see, I've got the front wheels are up in the air, car's on jack stands here, but at the rear, the car is sitting on ramps, and that's not working because I cannot turn the rear drive shaft. So I have gone out and I purchased 2 more. I needed extra jack stands, so this little SLK is actually good for running errands like this. I've got these 2 stands, so I can now get all four wheels up in the air and hopefully rotate that drive shaft. So just a couple words about jack stands. I like these heavy duty ones. They're a little bit bigger, but they're stronger. I mean, it's always good to use something that has more capacity, much more than the weight of the car. So, you know, if the car weighs 4,000 pounds, I would get 6,000 or 8,000 pound load stands. And then make sure, see, these ones are, I think, 3,000 pounds, which is still plenty, but they're smaller, so it's extended all the way up. Make sure that you've got the stand on both sides, you know, under the support in the right spot. And then I like to leave the hydraulic jack just for some extra safety. I'm going to leave that under the rear differential carrier. So if one of those rear jack stands happen to tip over, the jack would hold up the car and I would not get crushed. And finally, when you're working underneath a car, if there's someone else home, you should let them know. I like to keep my cell phone within hand's reach so that, you know, if something did happen, if the car fell off and I was trapped under there, that I could maybe call 911. But honestly, if you don't do something stupid, like, you know, jack your car in the front and then not put on the parking brake or block the rear wheel so the car could roll. You know, this car is supported in all 4. So right here is that rear drive shaft, and you can see I've actually got some of the bolts out for that flex disc. But the other bolts are way up top, and without actually rotating this thing, you're not going to get them out. And right now, I'm not able to turn it, and I think when I try turning this, you know, maybe I just need more force because you're trying to drive all 4 wheels. So I may need a tool or something a little stronger to move that. All right, so now that I got the car in neutral and I have all 4 wheels in the air, now it's heavy, but now I can actually rotate this drive shaft. Just take some muscle. There we go. Come on. There. There's the other 3 bolts that have to come out. One more turn. And I didn't mention, you should mark the flange in the drive shaft. I tried using a Sharpie, but that can rub off. I actually just made some marks with a punch pin, so that way you want this piece, the flange, and the drive shaft flange in the same place. And then also make a note that towards the front of the car, the nuts and actually the bolts face towards the back of the car. You could also take a photo if you can't, you know, that's great. when you put things back together, you may not remember which way those bolts went, but if you take a photograph, then it doesn't matter. You can always go back and look at that. So once you have all the bolts out of there, you're going to need a pry bar to pry this flex disc away from the drive shaft. You got to get that out of there because that is blocking. Let me show you. The upper fill plug is way, well, you can't even see it. Maybe I can point to it. Actually, where's the bottom one? Bottom one's right here. Well, upper one is way up there. You'll see it once I get the disc out. Now, after a fair amount of fighting this drive shaft, you really got to push it back because it's I think it's a two-piece drive shaft, so it slides backwards, but you really got to wiggle it and move it because you could see there's this output shaft right there of the transfer case meets with this flange, and they kind of overlap unless you really push this sucker back. So now that the flex disc is out of there, you can see, if I point the light, maybe better. It's not easy. There it is. You can see where the upper filler, way up there. Let me see if I can put the flashlight on the phone while I'm filming. Way up there is the filler. Way here, right there where my finger is. And what I'm going to do, I got some PB Blaster here. I'm going to spritz that with some PB and let it soak in for a few minutes. So I got my collection jug here, just an orange juice container, marked it off for 600 mils, and we'll put a funnel up there. So we will see exactly how much fluid's going to come out of here. So we are collecting the transfer case fluid, and well, the first thing you can see is it's obviously very dark. It's darker than maple syrup. It's definitely not pink, and well, there was quite a bit in there, but I don't know if it's going to come out to 600 mils. At least the transfer case was not empty. So let's see where we end up here.